Well, what will people think? You're losing face. Do you have no shame? If you've been told these things, I feel you on that. And this entire episode is all about deconditioning those sentences that has made us afraid of who we really are and has stopped us from living our truth. Hello, my soul searchers, and welcome to day 6 of 12 Days of Breakthroughs. As you might know, we are talking all about unbrainwashing ourselves and deconditioning ourselves from the society bullshit, parental bullshit, and any other things that have been holding us back from being who we really want to be, stopping us from living the dream that we want to create for ourselves, and that's keeping us unhappy. And over again, over the 4 years that I have been coaching people, the biggest thing that stops people from actually going after what they want is that they are afraid of what people will think. And more accurately, they are afraid of what they're going to think about themselves if they fail, if they are seen, if they can't hack it or can't do it. And every single culture has one of these things. For example, in Chinese culture, the whole idea is around losing face or giving face. This idea that your face is like what people see, this externalization of your life and how well you're doing, what brand you're wearing, what cars you're driving, and how picture perfect everything looks, because that's supposed to reflect what's going on internally. You're not supposed to let other people know that you're a human being, that you take a shit, and that you have problems sometimes. And this even extends to other people, where you can give other people face, or you can lose face on behalf of another person, hence this whole thing of bringing shame onto your whole family if you do something bad. Now, it's something that was probably very incredibly powerful and helpful back in the day when we were more of a community-based society, and it helped ensure that your behavior was known to have an effect on the collective and vice versa. But ultimately, it's another way to control people. And if we look at the way that affects people, it typically brings a lot of shame onto who you are, what you've done, what you're thinking, what you say. And because you're spending all this time living in your head, overthinking what you're doing, you don't actually end up living your life. You may be creating your own identity based off of what other people have said, what you think is possible for yourself, and gaslighting yourself out of what you actually want your life to look like, who you want to spend time with, and speaking your truth. So I want to share with you 3 things that I've identified as things that you need to do and you need to have as a prerequisite in order to actually stop caring about what other people think and live your truth. With that, I've also identified the 3 biggest blockers to those things, and we will go over how to manage those and lift them out of your life. So the 3 things that you're going to need is a desire, safety, external and internal, and confidence in yourself. Let's break that down. So number 1, desire. Do you have a motivator, an actual soul yearning for something in your life, or a way that you want to be, something that you want to feel? For example, to want to create more freedom, want to have more peace, be happier, experience more love and joy, have more time, and etc. Do you have that desire that's deep within you that is actually something that you want to do for yourself, not from somebody else? This soul desire is responsible for your motivation in being able to get out of the funk, do the hard things that's going to be required for you to actually change your reality. It's going to push you through the discomfort of making different decisions, thinking a different way, questioning yourself, doing some introspective work and healing. And if your desire is not true to yourself, or if your desire is superficial, it's not going to last, it's not going to push you through those hard times. The second thing, safety, internal and external. Here's what I mean by that. Externally is literally like your environment that you're in. So do you feel safe in the space that you're in, where you're living, the people that you're surrounded by? Do you have people that you can trust, a support system? Or if you don't have a support system, or you are surrounded by people who are not great, can you trust yourself to be alone? Can you actually in yourself be a support system and feel safe with yourself? Do you have food and shelter, etc.? This baseline level of safety externally is going to just put yourself at ease so that you can make change easier without having to go into the fight or flight of fending for your own life, literally. The second part of that is internal safety, where if you're not struggling with having to have food on the table, living with an abusive partner, or being in an abusive family, chances are you may still have an internal sense of unsafety where your nervous system feels stressed out, and the perpetrator could be emails, it could be beliefs about yourself, about not being good enough, about toxic productivity and how you need to work more and do more in order to get what you want. It's kind of like that self-flagellating self where you have an abuser, but it lives within you and it's the sound of your own voice, or maybe your mom's voice or dad's voice or professor's voice, whatever it is, but it lives within you and it's self-policing your activities. So what creates a safe internal environment that's going to give you that nervous system sense of safety is going to be having a witness, a protector, and a listener/nurturer. The way that I see this is this: if you catch yourself telling yourself you can't sleep because you haven't finished this work yet, you have to stay up and do this work, if it's just you and that abuser behind closed doors, as in your inner world, it's going to look a little like you maybe arguing with that voice in your head a little bit, feeling like you have to defend yourself, but ultimately that voice wins and you stay up late, you don't get that sleep, and you're more unhappy. Or you're already submissive and you just do what that demeaning, criticizing, judgmental voice is telling you to do. But when you cultivate having a witness, a protector, a listener, and a nurturer, that's when you actually get to see some progress in being able to get that abuser out and transform your relationship with yourself to feel more as peace and safer within yourself. The witness is going to be the part of you that is going to say, stop, there's abuse here. They're saying to hurt yourself, as in don't go to sleep, right? Push yourself more, push your physical body more than you can, push your emotional limits or whatever in order to please some external force. Now, if this was a situation where you are people pleasing and you're kind of pushing your own boundaries, giving more than you actually can, giving more than you actually want to, giving more than you actually can spend your time doing, then that's going to be the witness saying, hold on, this is overextending. In this example of sleep, it's going to be the witness saying, you're hurting yourself here by not going to bed. The second piece of this is the protector. And the protector is going to be the one who puts their hands in the middle of the situation and separates the abuser and the victim. In this case, both of them are you. So it's separating out those voices that are telling you, one, you have to do more work, you can't go to bed, you should overextend yourself, you should put other people's needs before yourself. And then the version of you who's like, okay, I don't really want to, but I guess I will. And it's putting those two apart so that you can then listen and nurture to the part of you that doesn't want to. That protector is also really helpful in being able to defend yourself when you have developed this ability to be more grounded in yourself and confident in what you want. So, for example, when you have that protector in play, it can be as simple as noticing there's a voice in your head that's saying you should stay up late, you got to get this done, it's really important that you get this done, and there's part of you that's saying, no, actually, you need to sleep because that's going to be more important. This can wait. You will go to bed now. And that is going to also play as an advocacy role for yourself in order for you to do the things that's really important to you to make sure that your cup is full, you take care of yourself so that you can take care of other people, do what you need to do. Now, if it's not that easy to defend yourself and advocate for yourself right off the bat, you really want to cultivate the listener or nurturer within yourself. That's going to be the part of you that actually sits down with the victim, in this case, again, yourself, and hear out what they have to say and think about it in a compassionate perspective to give them either A, the opportunity to actually get what they want, or B, an alternative solution that's going to be some type of compromise or collaboration with what you really want to get done. For example, if you have a deadline which is actually important to you and it's coming from a true desire, for example, me doing these podcast episodes and putting out a YouTube video and a podcast episode out every day for 12 days for these 12 days of breakthroughs. That's something that I really want to do and that I'm committed to doing simply because I want to. I believe that it's helpful for people and it's like literally a gift from me to the outside world. And because I think it's really valuable to have these skill sets in your back pocket, I want to get it done before the new year. So just notice that that desire that's there is my own. But there's been a part of me that's been really tired and feels like a lot of pressure to get these things out. So the way that the listener and nurturer comes in is to understand, okay, what do you need? Do you need more breaks? Do you need to lessen the load? Do you need to be more flexible with what time you release it at? Because I've been releasing them at like 8 a.m. every single day, telling myself it's okay if you want to release it at 1 p.m. It's okay if you just edit one video. It's okay if you also don't even want to do the newsletter. You can just post it. That's fine. It's okay if you don't want to do the timestamps. Just looking at what my capacity is for myself and then being able to nurture that and listen to it and respond to it, allows me to put myself more at ease, put my nervous system at ease, make me feel safe within myself so that I can actually go and do the things I want to do. When I do that, what I find is that I actually have the energy, the motivation, and the capacity to do what I want to do to the full extent and be that productive self that instead of flagellating myself, shaming myself, and pressuring myself to be, I can now ease into it because I don't have that pressure to have to perform. The third thing you're going to need is confidence in yourself, and confidence can be substituted for belief in yourself. There's two pieces of this. One, the internal belief of confidence based off of your own ability to kind of hype yourself up, develop the beliefs that you can do what you want to do, the confidence that when a challenge comes up or whatever, that you're going to have the resourcefulness, the willpower, the energy, the desire to actually work on it, work through it, get to the other side. And also the confidence that comes from reflecting on your past and looking at the truth of the skill sets that you have in order to reach your goals. So in those two parts, you want to cultivate self-confidence by developing a self-concept that is actually going to reflect the version of you that you're trying to build. For example, if you want to feel more free and become an entrepreneur, get out of your 9-to-5, developing the confidence in yourself to be able to figure it out as you go, to start small, step by step, and be able to reach help, get resources, understand how to build your social media or your website, your offer, all these things. And seeing that vision of yourself who is successful as an entrepreneur, who is successful after they get a job, who does not feel like an imposter, but actually feels like this is right for them, and letting that passion carry you, that's going to be very powerful in allowing you to go after what it is that you want, have the confidence to take action. And that is the second piece of confidence, is the confidence that you get from looking at your past and looking at like perhaps awards that you've won, compliments that you've gotten, praise that you've gotten from your bosses or from other people, looking at things that you've produced in the past and the time frames or the quality that you've produced it at. And that's also going to give you confidence to know that you actually can do it and you can improve on it. The key part here though is that you need to be able to take action, because action creates data and information for yourself to collect, and information is what minimizes fear. Now let's talk about the blockers. We just mentioned fear, and fear plus shame are two of the biggest blockers that you're going to come across. We talked about how fear works, where it's almost a manifestation of not having enough information, of the human desire to be safe, to know for certain, and our intolerance to face uncertainty, to be able to do things if we don't know how it's going to turn out, and our cultural obsession over productivity, knowing what the outcome is going to be and going after it, instead of being able to do things for the joy of the process, for the joy of learning, and just to see what we're capable of. So in these circumstances, we want to look at our conditioning, our unregulated nervous system, and our tolerance for uncertainty. The first of conditioning, I want to invite you to really start with looking at what's possible for you. What do you think is possible for you? What has been modeled as possible for you? Where did you develop these beliefs and otherwise? For example, with entrepreneurship, do you believe that you have to hustle in order to get there? That everything that you produce and all the good things and achievements all come out of how much you do and how much you can create. I know content creators go through this. People who are working in corporate jobs go through this. Every single human being who lives in the Western world has been conditioned that your worth is tied to your productivity. And when your own safety and when your own worthiness and confidence in yourself, safety of being able to have an income, have a job, have people who love you around you are all tied to your productivity, and that's holding it hostage, you're not going to be able to tap into the safety that you need to tap into to create change. You're not going to be able to tap into the confidence that you need in yourself to defend yourself against what other people think. And you're not going to be able to follow the true desires that you have that are intuitively given to you, because that means it's for you. And instead, you're going to downplay what you actually want, gaslight yourself into not wanting it, or just think that's a dream that's not for you and not actually ever go for it. If you want to go deeper into deconditioning yourself, opening up the doors of what is actually possible for yourself and see yourself in those positions, then I highly recommend going through all my podcast episodes, look at my free resources, and also through working with me one-on-one, where you're going to get that specialized attention into what is your specific lived experience that has brought up this conditioning. What are the fears and doubts and beliefs that are getting in your way from living the life that you want to live, and be able to actually undo it, integrate new beliefs, so that you can have the safety and the confidence in yourself to follow your desires and make it happen. More information on that is going to be down in the show notes in the description box down below. Now, the second big blocker is the unregulated nervous system. I have an entire podcast episode on this, on fear, how to stay grounded in the face of uncertainty, and I talk all about the nervous system safety, how to identify when you are in fight, flight, freeze, or fawn, and different ways that you can get out of it. But more importantly than learning how to regulate your nervous system and bring yourself back to safety is to actually use the tools that you've learned and implement them. I can tell you to go take a deep breath, to meditate, to go for a walk, to visualize yourself safe. I can tell you that you need to let yourself take a break. I can tell you that things are going to be okay. But whether or not you believe me or actually do those things are not up to me. That's what you're responsible for. Also, if you have deep-rooted trauma and you haven't sought help for that, I highly recommend that going to see a therapist, a hypnotherapist. If you've worked through those things and you still need a little push, maybe you need a coach. There's also tons of holistic practices like Reiki, crystal healing, cord cutting, stuff like that can also help you regulate your nervous system. What I find really helpful for myself is to have a spiritual practice that reminds me of who I am, what's really important to me, and what my core values are, that's going to be the guiding compass, especially in those periods of slow growth. Also, just opening up your perspective to understand that in nature, nothing grows in a vacuum or constantly other than cancer. So if you're going through seasons in your life, you don't have to flip shit and you can actually just chill for a bit. Developing these beliefs do take time, but most importantly, they take intention. So if you're really intentional about this, if this is something that you seriously want to do, stop being afraid of what other people think of you, be able to be solid in your own belief and let that guide you so that you can live your truth, create the life that you want to live, then it's time to do the work. And this last piece of letting go of fear and shame, being able to develop the confidence in yourself so that you can have what you want, will come down to how confident you can feel in this uncertainty. And that's going to look like increasing your tolerance for feeling like shit, for going through the deep end, because growth does not feel that great. I'm going to be honest with you. Like, it is challenging. It's painful. You have to go through ego deaths multiple times, be willing to be wrong, be shown wrong, go through failures, and still come out the other end ready to go again. But it is extremely worth it. Do not let the illusion that things that are hard are not worth it get to you. Because the truth is, everything that you want is on the other side of discomfort. And energetically, if you believe something is truly for you and you can accomplish it, the universe will conspire around you to give that to you. All you have to do is be able and willing to receive and show up in your own full power with the confidence that you have. Utilize your free will to match up with what you want. It doesn't have to be hard, but it's going to require work and intention on your part, with the added piece that this is truly something that you want, that's in alignment for you, and the openness to receive whatever it is that you need to receive at that time. Now I want to add a little bit of caution here and also open up your perspective. If you're fighting me on this and your socialized conditioning is cutting in and saying, wait, but we need fear. Fear is really helpful. I don't really do anything unless I find myself stuck in a deadline. If you're saying, oh, but I need shame, how else am I going to learn? And how else am I going to make sure that I don't make the same mistake again? Guess what? There are higher forms of motivation than fear and shame. That's like saying somebody needs trauma, somebody needs to be hurt and assaulted or whatever in order to grow. That is bullshit, because if you think that somebody needs trauma because that's what helped you grow, also notice that trauma is the thing that keeps people stuck in depression and suicidal ideation and not wanting to be here, thinking that they're not good enough, thinking that the world is shit, and not trusting other people. Trauma is a double-edged sword, and if you're throwing people into the deep end thinking they're going to either sink or swim, then you, my friend, need to do some work to partner with your nervous system to make sure that you can feel safe in your own growth. Like I said, safety is a requirement in order to be able to truly let go of what other people think and be able to live your truth sustainably, authentically, genuinely. This idea that diamonds are created under pressure is so harmful to our own psyches and can be used to hurt ourselves, to guide us to hurting other people, and make us feel even more disconnected from ourselves and our lives, which is the opposite of what we actually want. Just notice this: if you're using fear and shame to fast track your growth and force your way to success, all you're doing is fueling the pure, genuine desire that you have to do something with muck that's going to transform this desire into actually just avoiding punishment, shame, pain of being unworthy, rejected, and laughed at. And that is going to be why it's so hard for you to listen to your desires and trust them, because inherently, if you're fueling it with that shame and that fear, your subconscious is going to want to avoid that like the plague. Versus if you use love, compassion, responsibility, and the desire to be a responsible steward for yourself, your life force, and what you have to offer on earth, that's going to lead to sustainable growth and attracting in success versus having to go and claw after it. Desire comes from truth. It comes from creating something, desiring the joy of something being out there, knowing that you are worthy, and still wanting that human recognition and celebration for your own successes. But like with any dream, you have to be the one to believe that that's possible first and go for it that way. You kind of need to prove to yourself that you're going to believe that love and compassion and desire and responsibility can lead the way instead of fear and shame. Just because that's the way that's worked for you in the past does not mean that that's the only way that it works. And notice all the shitty pollution that it's created for you of having this resistance, procrastination, and shame. So if you don't want that, you're going to have to do things differently. And the way to do that is going to be to lead your desires with love, compassion, and responsibility. Now, the last thing that I want to make you aware of is when you go through these challenges, your confidence is going to go up and down, up and down. That's just the way that it's going to go, because growth is not fucking linear. And in those times, you might feel tempted to shit on yourself. You might feel tempted to go back to old ways of hustling. You might even lose faith in yourself. This is where support comes in, external support. As humans, we're wired to want and seek out connection, love, support, and validation. Instead of trying to think that you can be the most confident person on the earth and never need those things, look at the truth of it, which is that it's not a bad thing to have. It feels so good to receive, and actually partner with that desire so that it can help you get through those tough times and get what you want. You don't need to be lacking to want to feel seen. Check out the stories that you're telling yourself in these low times, where maybe you think you can't do it, you're not good enough, you've failed, that you might just need to work a little harder. Look at the fears that you have around telling other people that you're struggling. And through that, you're going to see what's really going on, because you'll notice that it's never about what other people actually think about you. It's about what you make that mean for yourself and what you believe about yourself and how you're going to treat yourself after that. I really hope that you can cultivate self-trust and being able to have your own back anyways, because that is going to be the thing that leads you to success. So it's time to come back home to yourself. And like I said, if you want some additional support in this, check out the links in the description below to work with me, or you can go to my website at jensui.com. That's JENCUI.com. And there you're going to find the opportunity to apply to work with me one-on-one so that you can have the spiritual guidance and brain coaching that is necessary to actually implement all these steps that is unique to your journey and your lived experience and what you want to create in your life. You don't need to be suffering day in and day out. There is literally relief right at the door if you want to take it. So cheers to being you, and I will see you next time.